let's get started. So we're going to be exploring lines today, which is the first element that we have up here on the board. And we're going to be breaking down pretty much the different kinds of lines and how lines vary from each other. So in the first section where it says 5 kinds of lines, it says draw a picture of each. So this might sound really simple because the first one says vertical, then horizontal, diagonal, curved, zigzag. I actually am looking for a vertical line. Can you guys tell me what a vertical line looks like? What direction does it go in?
Up and down.
Up and down, right? So your vertical line is just going to look like this. So go ahead and draw a vertical line right next to the word vertical. And then for horizontal, can somebody show me with their hand what direction the horizontal line looks like?
Is it like this? Or you're moving that way?
It's side to side. Yes, so it would look like this or like this. So vertical line is up and down. Horizontal line is side to side. And then the next one, Carolyn, would be diagonal? Yes. So vertical line looks like this. Horizontal looks like this. Diagonal looks like this or like this. It could be going in either direction, but it just has to be slanted. Okay? What about curved? Can somebody show me with their hands, with their finger, what a curved line looks like?
Like a U.
It could be like a U.
Or a half C.
Yep. It could be like this. It could be like this. It could be like this. It could be like this, like a spiral. So these are all examples of curved lines. But there's a difference in the types of curved lines that you can have. You can have these that are not as curvy, which makes these a low degree curve. And then you can have these that are really, really curvy, like a spiral. And this one is considered a high degree curve. Okay? Remember that because it's going to come up later on when we get later on in this worksheet. So low degree curve is less curve. High degree curve is more like a spiral. Okay? What about the zigzag line? Yes.
I already know how to explain it in words. I'm just down up.
You did a pretty good job of showing me with your hands. This thing's kind of squeaky. So a zigzag line looks like this, right? Or it can be in this direction. So can somebody tell me what's the difference between a zigzag line and a curved line? If they're both not straight lines?
The zigzag meets at a certain point, and a curve just continues in one direction.
What about? So it has to do with these angles, right? These pointy. If it was a curve, it would be like this. It goes in the same direction, but it doesn't come to a point. Zigzags are actually made out of straight lines where they meet at these points, and then they create those angles. So that's the difference between one and the other. Okay, does anybody have questions about these? Okay, let's move on to the next section where it says 5 ways to change a line's appearance. So it's 5 ways to change the way a line looks. And for this little exercise, you're going to match each word to the meaning. So the words are texture, degree of curve, width, length, and direction. So take a few minutes to try to match those with the things that are on the right side, which is thick and thin, long and short, smooth and rough, the angle of the line, and a shallow curve like a wavy line versus a tight curve like a spiral.
Is that okay? How do I do now? Which one's better?
You need to choose one And then you're gonna do it on a big piece of paper.
Which one looks better? They're both cute.
You have to clear your desk. This is my example right here. So you cut it and then you do the X and then you do the circle and then you go from there. It's not finished obviously.
That's one? That's one of your things?
Yeah, but I didn't color this, the other side in here. I was just trying, these are two different yellows. I was just trying those out. And I have bigger rulers if you, those other ones are too small.
Okay, put this one over there. Do I wait for you or do you, I just go? I'm gonna put this in the bag, okay? I don't know where I'm thinking about food.
Just so you know, I'm recording this.
Oh, but you could hear me talking about food.
Okay, is everybody done with this section?
Yeah.
All right. So when we're talking about texture, can somebody tell me what it's referring to? Smooth or rough, the way something feels, right? Even though when you're doing a paint, you don't necessarily have to be able to feel the texture, but if you paint something so that it looks like it feels like something, that describes your texture. So what about direction? Which one do you think direction goes with?
A shallow curve.
The angle of a line.
It would be the angle of the line, because it goes with, if you're talking about direction, is what direction is the line going in. So if you have a line that's going, it doesn't matter where it's going, it can be, it's just what angle is it going in, and showing you the direction that the line is going in. What about width? Alondra, can you tell me which one width is referring to? Thick or thin. What about length? Sarah?
Long and short.
Long and short. And then degree of curve. Michael? What is degree of curve?
Like a wavy line versus a tight curve, like a spiral.
Yes. So you guys, did anybody have trouble with these? Did everybody get them right? Okay. So we're going to go to the next thing where we're going to talk about the definition of line. There's different kinds of lines. So let me get a piece of paper. So we're going to talk about the definition of line first. Okay? Can everybody see where it says definition of line? Okay. So when we're talking about definition of line, we all know what a line looks like, right? We all, you can show me, but the definition is actually line is an element of art, which means it's one of these elements that I have up here, which are the basics of art. That is the path of a moving point through space. So that's the definition you're going to write down, but I'm going to demonstrate pretty much what this means. It might sound silly, but this is what it's talking about. So a line is actually the path that a point leaves behind. So this is my point right here. And if it travels this way and it ends here, that path that it left behind, that's what creates the line, pretty much. Okay, that's what that means. So go ahead and write the definition in. So line is an element of art that is the path of a moving point through space. Yeah, it's also on the board if you want to get it from there. Line is an element of art that is the path of a moving point through space. If you guys can look up when you're done, I'll know that we can move on. Okay. So the next thing is a definition of outline. Can somebody tell me what they think an outline is?
An uncolored picture of something, like just the basic black outline of it.
Yes.
Like it's not filled in, it's not shaded, it's
Yes.
not colored, it's just an outline.
That's right. So what would be an outline of a soccer ball?
Just the circle.
Just a circle. Yes. So let's say I wanted to draw an outline of an ice cream cone. My outline of an ice cream cone would look something like this. Right? Something like that. So the outline is just the outside edge of an object, no detail on the inside. Okay? So let me show you the definition so you can write it down. So an outline is a line that shows or creates the outer edges or shapes. An outline is a line that shows or creates the outer edges of a shape. So it doesn't matter how much detail the object has on the inside. If you're just creating the outline, then it's just whatever shape the outline makes.
Miss, does the circle have to touch the edges también?
Please look up when you're done so we can move on. Okay. So the next thing is a definition of an implied line. Does anybody know what an implied line? This one is not very common. I don't expect for you guys to have heard of this one because it's rare. But do you know what implied means?
Saying something without saying it, like the person implied something but they didn't say it.
Yes. So it's like you can understand what the person was trying to say even though they didn't say it straight out, right? Well, in art, an implied line is something very similar. So here's a definition and then I'm going to give you a demonstration, okay? An implied line is an implied line is a series of points that the viewer's eyes automatically connect.
There's a point.
A series of points that the viewer's eyes automatically connect.
Those gummies are already too big to create a circle.
It's harder because the paper está más.
Did you look at my example?
Oh wait, so just half?
It's not half, it's just measure that. It's supposed to be 10 inches.
That's why we're messing up.
So you measure from here to 10 inches and then that's where you make this and then you make...
Look at my circle. Wow. We struggle for no reason.
So use your ruler.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you what an implied line looks like. So let's say I wanted to imply something. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna start drawing it, and then as soon as you recognize what it is, you guys tell me what it is. Okay. And my marker doesn't want to work. It's a heart, right? How did you know it was a heart? Because I didn't even make a solid line. Right, but it's the implied line. Because I put these dots in a specific order that your eyes automatically connect to the line. Even though it's not a solid line, you can tell what I was trying to say. So that's an implied line. And implied lines are used by artists when they're trying to sketch something. They're not committed to the drawing. It's not a solid line, but you're putting a series of points together to see so you can visualize what it's going to look like without actually committing to the line. Okay? All right, so let's move on to the next one, which is a definition of contour line. Now a contour line is very similar to an outline. Here's a definition. A contour line is one continuous line that lines the edges and surface ridges of object.
Continuous, C-O-N-T-I-U.
Hold on, just it's C-O-N-T-I-U-O-U-S. Continuous line that defines and surface ridges of an object. Can you see, Michael, from where you're sitting? Or is that
No,
too?
but I can't see, period, so.
You need glasses?
Just in the car, so.
You want to go grab them?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That is-
Oh, so you're done with this one when you come back.
See, look, still not done.
Can you guys see clearly? Okay.
The long way though.
Okay, you're good now?
Yeah, now I can.
Can you see? All right. So go ahead and finish writing that one down. I'm going to move it down a little bit. You're good?
Oh, yeah.
You're done with this one?
Yeah, I got it. All that.
Okay, all right. So a contour line is a continuous line that defines the edges and surface ridges of an object. So continuous line, what does that mean? It keeps going, right? It never stops. So if you're gonna do a contour line, you can never pick up your pen or your pencil from the paper until you're done. And it defines the outer edges, so it does the outline, and the surface ridges of an object. So that means also the stuff that is inside that defines the object. So I'm going to use the ice cream cone as an example again to show you what a contour drawing would look like using a contour line. So it's one continuous line. So let's say I'm going to start my ice cream cone down here, and I'm going to go and do the outline without picking up my pen, and then I'm going to get to where I started, but I'm not going to pick it up. I'm just going to continue, and I'm going to start doing the cone. Let's say it goes like that, and then in this direction, and then I'm done. Huh? What was that? So does that make sense? I'm going to try doing the soccer ball example now. So the soccer ball looks like a circle, right? So I'm going to start by doing the outline. Then, without picking up my pen, I'm going to go onto the inside and try to follow that pattern that soccer balls have, because I did the outer edge already, and now I'm doing the surface, right? So it's one continuous line, and I did the outside and the inside. Okay? Does anybody have questions about this one? You're good? Okay. So contour line. So we're done with those definitions. Now we're going to go to how a line is used to create value. Does anybody know what value means?
The worth of something, the amount of money,
So value value it refers to what something's worth, right? In art, value refers to how much shading or how light or dark something is. So I guess in a way it can be a connection, but in art, value is referring to the different tones or how an object or the shadows of an object are affected by the way light's hitting something. So in this case, the question is, how can you use line to create value? Okay, so if value is talking about light and dark, can somebody give me some examples of how you can use line to create value, to create something to make it dark or lighter?
on that shirt.
What was that?
That shirt, do you know what kids like on Messy Violence?
You think that's an example of value?
The shading in the back, the lines that brought the darkness.
Uh-huh.
The back of the girl was big.
So if you're using this as an example, what did I do to make it look darker?
Shading the back and shading her hair into the backdrop.
What about the lighter areas?
Her skin and her face, it shows more of the emotion and brings more emotion to it.
What did I use? How did I use line to create the lighter areas?
You use less diagonal.
Less lines, right? Yes. So what that means is, like Michael noticed, if I added more lines, it would make it darker, right? It's just line after line and they're really close together, so it makes it darker. But like Carolyn said, if I want to make it lighter, it's less lines and they're a little separated from each other, so that makes it look lighter. Okay? So that was really good. I'm glad you guys got that. So now if you look at those little two squares that you have on your paper, you have the opportunity to show me how value is created with line. So you can do more lines on one to make it look like a darker value, and then you can create less lines to make it look lighter. When you're done doing the lines on those squares, you can go ahead and write the definition, which is right next to it, and you can do yours on the same spot. So the one that I'm going to highlight is the one that we talked about, which is the more lines you draw closely placed together, the darker the value. When you guys are done with writing the definition and doing the values, if you can look up, I will know that we are good to go. Somebody was looking for you earlier.
Teacher?
Kayla came in and asked for you.
Can you keep this? This is what we went over. So I'll go over it really quick afterwards. Okay?
Okay, you guys ready to move on? All right. So this last little section talks about the feelings or moods that each line expresses. So I know that it's kind of hard to understand that right up front, that the direction that lines go and actually express something. But I'm going to show you some examples, and then you'll be able to make a connection. Okay? So the first line that we have on here is the vertical lines. Okay? And vertical lines are static. They don't move. They're always going in that same direction, up and down. They express stability, dignity, poise, stiffness, and formality. Is there anything like, you know, around you or even outside or in nature, something that is vertical that you see as stable, dignity, poise, stiffness, formality, that is in the vertical position? A wooden fence? Mm-hmm. What else?
The pillars at USC.
The pillars? Uh-huh. Can you think of something? The light posts? Yes. They're pretty stable, right? They're solid and they're vertical. So in this next section, what I want you to do is to write an example, or you can draw an example. So in that little space provided before the next one, you can either draw a little picture that shows me an example that you came up with, or if you want to use one of the ones that were given by your classmates, you can do that too. Or you can just write it in if you feel more comfortable writing the word in. Okay?
That is so horrible.
What?
That makes me afraid to drive. She drive with no permanent insurance. Now if she hits me, she hits somebody else, can't even sue. She has no insurance. So it just SOL. Stop. Call the police on her right now before she go get back in that car.
Are you guys done? Okay, we're going to go on to horizontal lines. Horizontal lines are also static, so they don't move. They're always going in the same direction. They express peace, rest, quiet, calm, and relaxed. Is there anything that's vertical that expresses these feelings for you? Anything that you can make a connection with?
The cross.
That is horizontal? Horizontal goes in this direction.
The cross guard.
Can you think of something else that's just horizontal? Think about nature. Think about anything that expresses peace, restful, quiet, calm, relaxed. That's horizontal.
The beach?
The beach. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's called the horizon? Right? So the beach is a really good example. I like using that one. Can somebody think of anything else? No? You guys are good with the beach?
Yeah.
So other ideas that I've gotten is like your bed. Your bed lays like this, right? That's restful, it's calm, it's relaxing. But I do like to use the beach actually, especially for my examples. So when you look out into the beach, you see how the water, it kind of looks like it meets with the sky, right? And that's what creates that line. So we have a horizontal line that's being created by water and by sky. So let's say here's our sun, here are the clouds, and then here's the water, right? Which creates a peaceful scenery, right? So this horizontal line, it's actually called the horizon because it's a horizontal line. Okay, now let's move to the next one, which is diagonal lines. And diagonal lines express instability, tension, and excitement. They can appear to be rising or falling. So if a diagonal line looks like this or like this, what reminds you of these expressions? It looks like it's rising or falling, so that makes it unstable. There's tension and excitement. So what examples can you think of?
Rain.
Which one?
Rain.
Rain? Rain? Yeah, rain can go diagonal.
Mountains.
Mountains, yeah, because they look like they're rising. Any other examples? A roof, yes. Have you ever stood on the top of a roof?
No.
It's pretty scary because it's very unstable. Because if you're standing on it, it's like you can so easily fall down. That's a really good example. Michael, do you have one? No? Was that enough examples for you? Everybody got one? Okay. Well, let's go to curved lines. So curved lines are active. The less active the curve, the calmer the feeling. Obviously, the bigger the degree of curve, it's more exciting. So this one is unique though because it has more than one feel or mood depending on the degree of the curve. And curved lines are often suggest luxury. So if a curved line, if a curvy line means active, and then a less curvy line means calmer, is there anything you can think of? It has curved lines, and you can either think of a low degree curve or a high degree curve. Amusement park, roller coasters. Yes, that's a good one. That one is excitement. For some people, kind of scary. What else? Let's go back to the beach. So the beach, you know how when it's like further out, the waves are the water's kind of calm. It still creates waves, right? It still creates these curves, but they're calmer. What happens to the water when it reaches the shore? When it reaches the sand? What kind of curves do you get there? What's that? What happens to the water when it comes close to the shore? It crashes in, creating what?
Wet sand.
What does the water create? What do surfers go out there for?
Waves.
Waves, right? If you think about it, the waves are actually bigger curves. They're more like a spiral because they actually curl and then they crash in, right? So you have the beach is a great example of both of them because you go out into like the deeper area. You have these lower curve waves that actually make it calmer. So if you're over here in your boogie board, then it's pretty calm. You're not really going anywhere, but you come closer and then the water starts doing this and then it goes faster, it's exciting, it's moving, right? So there you have the calmer, less active feeling with the shallow or the low degree curves, and then once you come closer to the edge where the curves become more like a spiral, then you have more active and excitement. Everybody wrote down an example for that one? Okay. So the last one we have on here is zigzag lines. And zigzag lines create confusion, excitement, and nervousness. Can you guys think of anything? Any examples for zigzag lines? Nothing? Michael, any ideas? Zigzag lines?
Yeah, but they're not good.
Your ideas are not good? What were you thinking?
It's hot. Zigzag line.
Huh?
No. I'm just hold it down right here.
Okay. Is it not appropriate?
No, I mean it's still appropriate, but it's not.
It's not. You don't feel like it's a good one? Okay. So one thing that I think of when I think of zigzag lines is actually like a bouncing ball. Have you guys ever been to a handball court where it's like the room is completely closed? No.
Okay, when it bounces off the walls,
It creates, right? If you think about the definition of line, and we're talking about the path that a moving point leaves, if you take one of those blue super bouncy balls and you hit it in that room, it goes like everywhere, right? And if you think of the path that it's leaving, it's actually creating zigzag lines. Now, if you put yourself in that room, will it create confusion?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Because you don't know where the ball's going to go next. What if it goes directly at your face, right? Excitement? Yes. And nervousness?
Yes. Don't need to get hit in the face.
Yes. So I like using that one as an example because I know zigzag lines are pretty hard to. It's hard to find an example for zigzag lines. So you guys can borrow my idea if you'd like, or Michael, if you want to write yours in, you can do that too. What's that? Was this one it? Is this the last one? Yes, it is. So we just covered all the vocabulary that needs to be covered in this section. Make sure you have your name on that piece of paper. And when you're done, we're going to flip the page to this one. Should look like this. Okay? And you guys are going to take a few minutes. This doesn't require you guys to work a lot. It doesn't have to be super detailed, but the idea of this exercise is to take a line or a squiggly line and create something out of it. In the example right here, this was the line and the artist created this kind of dragon looking character. Notice that there's not a lot of detail, there isn't any shading, it's just lines. So what I would like you to do is to take these squiggly lines here and then create something out of it. Okay? It can be anything. And you shouldn't spend more than like 1 minute on each one. Just make something out of it. The reason why I wanted to add this to this packet is because your warm-ups, there's going to be some that are like this, and then I want you to look at lines in a different way. Kind of use your creative side a little bit and just, make a character out of it, maybe an object, maybe a letter, I don't know. Some of the edges are making it look not so round.
Yeah, that was looking.
You want to try using the compass, see if it helps?
So does this look right?
Yours looks better than mine.
I need to fix the bottom.
I think that all the edges look good except for that one, the one you're working on.
I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's good. No, keep it. I'm gonna do one more thing. So before you guys go today, I need to show you what's gonna be what you need to do for homework. And your homework is pretty much just finishing the packet and then doing the final project, which is gonna be the equivalent to your test. Okay? So if you guys look up at the board, so I can show you really quick. This is what the next page looks like. Now, since we've been talking about lines, we're going to continue doing some exercises on line. Ignore the writing right here. Let's just look at the pictures. But when we were doing the little survey, the right side of the brain versus the left side, it's to prepare you for this activity right here. If I showed you this picture of a pine tree, and I told you draw the pine tree over here, then you would just think, okay, it's a pine tree, that's what I'm going to draw, right? But what I did here is I actually took out a section of the pine tree. It's not even half of it. It's just like a corner. this is gonna force you to look at what the lines are doing on this side. Okay, so we're paying attention to the lines themselves. Is it a vertical line? Is it a horizontal line? Is it a curve? Is it a zigzag? Is it, you know, what kind of line is it? Because we are experimenting with line. So when you look at this picture, you're gonna find your place. Where does it stop, and then what does it do? What direction it goes in, all the way until you get to where it connects. Okay, you're gonna do the same thing with the umbrella. Notice how the section that's missing is what's somewhere in the middle. So you're gonna look at it. What kind of curve is it? Is it a high degree curve? Is it a low degree curve? Is it a vertical? Is it a horizontal line? Is it, you know, what kinds of lines are actually completing these images? And you're gonna draw those lines in. Once you're done with those two, you're gonna continue on to these squares, and you need to copy exactly what these lines are doing on this side. Okay, so make sure you're counting your what's, you know, where does it start and what direction it goes in, and you're gonna do that for that one and for the two that follow. Okay, once you're done with those two, then you go on to your final project, which is this one. It's an upside down drawing, and it has all the directions right here. So before you start, make sure you read through these. And I'm going to give you 2 pieces of paper because you need to do 2 drawings. Okay? Now, when you do your drawings, you can select either from these 2 or from the one in the back. Okay? So let's say that I want to start with this one, because there's 3 pictures here. You need to do 2 in 2 different pieces of paper. And you'll notice that every picture has like a border around it. That border is supposed to represent your piece of paper. So it's, even though it's a small picture, it's going to end up being this big. Okay? So I'm going to give you 2 pieces of paper, 1 for each drawing. You're going to cover your picture, and you're only going to let a little bit of the top show. And we're doing this upside down because we're forcing the left side of our brain to relax, and we're letting the creative side take over, right? So we're going to look at our picture broken down into sections, broken down into lines, okay? Instead of looking at it as a whole. I think it'll be harder. I don't know if you guys agree. Did you think it would be harder to draw this as a full picture, a guy sitting in a chair? Or is it easier to just draw these lines? I would think it would be easier to draw the lines, right? So that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to cover your paper, and you're going to take your white piece of paper, and you're going to start at the top. So you're going to look so this is the border right here. That's where it starts, right? This little corner right here. That's going to be the edge of your paper. So you're going to look at it and you're going to say, okay, the first line that's on there looks kind of like a diagonal line, but it's not at such an angle, and it's like this far away from the edge, right? There's another one right next to it that goes like in the same direction. And then there's a little space, and there's a diagonal line going in this direction. And then there's another one that looks like a vertical line, and then there's a space, and then there's 2 more lines that are verticals, and then there's a space, and there's another one that's a little bit at an angle, and then it kind of curves in this way, and then there's a space, and there's another line that curves a little bit, and then there's the last one that goes like straight vertical. So you're gonna start with a picture that looks like this. And then you're going to move your paper. Once you're done with those, you're going to move your paper down. And then you're going to continue from there. Okay, this first line started going in this direction. So you notice how you're looking at what the lines are doing and how they relate to each other? So by the time you get to the bottom of this piece of paper, you're going to have the entire picture drawn out. No shading. It's just a line drawing. Does anybody have questions? No. So I'm not looking, the purpose of this exercise is not for you to have a pretty picture. It's the process. Remember, I'm taking you from what you know to the basics, and then we're going to build from there. So the purpose of this exercise is to get you to look at the lines and what they're doing in relationship to each other, so that you're kind of creating this by just looking at the basic lines and how they come together. It creates a full image. Okay, so it's the process of doing this upside down the way that I'm showing you is what's important for this exercise. It's not the finished product. Okay, so don't uncover your picture until you're done. Don't flip your paper your picture over until you're done. You have to reserve this time to start it and to finish it in one sitting. Okay, because if you flip your picture over and you look at it, you start analyzing it. That's the left side of your brain taking over. You start analyzing it, and then you start questioning yourself, and then you start telling yourself that it doesn't look right, it doesn't look like it, and that's not what we want. We want the right side of the brain to start and finish this picture by looking at the lines and what they are. Are they vertical? Are they diagonal? Are they horizontal lines? Are they curved lines? Are they zigzag lines? How do they connect with each other? That is it. Okay? So no matter what it looks like when you're done, that's what I want you to turn in. Okay? So if you just follow the process of doing the drawing upside down, then you would get a good grade on this credit. Okay? It's not going to be based on your picture. Does anybody have questions?
So I have to do 2 out of these 3, right?
Yes. So there's 3 pictures that I provided, and you have to pick 2. Okay, and I'll give you the piece of papers right now, and so everybody's clear on what they have to have by next week.
Yes.
So the rest of the packet and the 2 drawings. Okay.